Welcome and great to have you in this session. Today we continue with the Move to Cloud ERP Practical Guide, the free webcast series that provides a comprehensive overview of why the cloud ERP transformation is essential for companies, how it can be successfully implemented, and what support is available to accelerate your transformation journey. I can see a raised hand and I can try to find out the reason for this. So, Chuck, go ahead. I can't hear you. All right. I probably then pin you in the chat, and now I just continue with my introduction. Our schedule currently includes almost 30 weekly live sessions structured around why, how, and what, targeting global audience. Make sure you are registered and get access to the collections of assets that we are sharing with the registrants of this series. The session today will focus on people aspects of transformation. Moving to SAP S for HANA is far more than just IT change. It is a business transformation. No change will happen without people. So today we talk about empowering people to drive transformation. Sarah Loy, who is change management consultant at SAP, will lead us through this session. My name is Larissa Brinkmann from the SAP Global User Groups organization, and I'm your host. Please post your questions via Q&A tool, and we will be glad to answer them later. This session is being recorded, and the recording will be made available to the registrants of this series. But now let's get started, and over to you, Sarah.
Yeah, thank you, Larissa, and welcome everybody also from my end. Great to see so many people joining this session on the people side of transformations. I'm really looking forward to spend the next 60 minutes with you on the topic of change management in SAP Cloud projects. And yeah, really covering here the people side of transformations. Before we dive into the content, I would like to give a heads up to you that the people dimension of SAP Cloud projects is divided in two sessions. So today's session is focusing, as Larissa said, on the change management, but we will have another session covering the learning perspective, so all around enablement, which is happening in late of June with my dear colleague, Seide Sinowski. For today's session, my three objectives to distribute to you is that the why of change management, so the relevance of change management in business transformation, to share with you the insights on that, why it is so relevant, then how it is getting done, what is our approach from SAP, and what are, let's say, some experience I can share with you for all the details around change management, then how we can SAP support you with that, what are key takeaways, what are additional information, and we have enough time reserved for questions and answers. So be safe that you can also ask your questions in the chat later on if you want to have some insights on some points a little bit more. But before we start with the content on the why, I would be very interested to know who's sitting with me in this virtual room, because that gives me also a hint where I need to put more focus on in this webcast. So Larissa will now put up a poll with questions to you. The first one is on your role in your organization. So if you're from business or if you're from IT or another function. And the second one is, how familiar are you with change management in context of SAP projects? This especially gives me a feeling where do I start at some point where I do need to put more focus on. So we see now the first results coming in of the poll. We give you like another 30 seconds to participate. Very appreciated for the ones who already did that. That's very helpful for me to understand a little bit the audience. So until now, we see 70% are from IT and somewhat familiar with change management.
Just let me know when we should close the poll. I think the tendency is already clear, so I can end the poll and share the results.
Yeah, perfect.
Thank you, all of you who have participated.
Yeah, that's great. So we have the 73% are from IT within this round, and from business 15%, and the others are from 12% from different functions. So we have a high IT focus here. And let's see, there are no thorough response coming in for the second question. So I think we can also close that poll, Larissa. And it's the same as already lined on the tendency, is that it's 70% are somewhat familiar, some are very familiar. That's good to see, some experts here. And some 50% say they're not familiar at all. Okay, so quite a mix, but definitely a tendency. Thanks for participating. That's good to know. And then let's directly start with, what's change management about? Why is it so relevant on S/4HANA transformation? So in context of SAP Cloud projects, there is many focus on the technical things, right? We're talking about systems, we're talking about processes and data. But what is oftentimes forgotten in this context, that actually people are driving the transformation. They are defining the processes. They are seeing which system works together and defining the data strategy. So actually people are driving the transformation and the projects in context of S/4HANA. And at the end of the day, of course, also work with the system, right? They are then the users who adopt the solution after go live. And this is sometimes with all the technical things which need to be adjusted, need to be set up in context of a cloud project, falling behind. So we really, that's why we're also having this session to really put the focus on the people side of those transformation, because this is a key success factor that your business transformation is then also successful. And we also ask our customers, how high do they see the impact of the S4 implementation on their organization? And actually here, 88% said in a quick assessment that they see a high or medium impact on their people or behavior, which states the relevance that people need to adjust their behavior in context of such transformations. But when we also ask the question, okay, what are you doing to guide your people through that? We saw in the quick assessment that only every second respondent shared that they have a change management actions in place. 45% said that they have a change story implemented, that they actively communicate in the program, that they measure the effectiveness of change management, and they train the end users. So we see here somehow a gap between the seeing the relevance of change management and then putting actions next to it. That's why we're also, let's say, sharing now what are best practices, how you can approach it, and offer support in helping at this point. And what are now, let's say, typical challenges really for the employees to make it concrete, right? We saw the relevance and that some take actions on that. But I wanted to point out at this stage 3 of them, 3 hurdles, which is very fitting to the European Championship, which is currently running actually. But yeah, these are the 3 hurdles which are always there, which is the first one is that employees in context of such transformations need to let go of old times, rethinking processes and responsibilities. For example, which you might have encountered also in your organization, is when being in fit to standard workshops or defining new processes for the future, you may encounter, let's say, sites that say, oh, we always did it that way. We can't change that, right? And here it is challenging for the employees to let go of the old, let's say, and think about how could it be done in the future, and how could you adjust your organization that it's fitting to the standard processes. Second is a need for integrative collaboration in the project team and with the business. That is sometimes taken for granted, actually, but especially in an organization where you have very siloed culture, or where you haven't been implementing such huge programs which involve the whole company yet. This is something new, and this is where people need to acclimate with. They need to open up, and they need to feel confident with that. So that's also a huge change in their behavior, how they acted previously in the company. And the third is the required change of behavior and commitment to really learn the successful user adoption. I mean, we know we're all humans, and we like routines, and we like to stick to them. And in context of S4 implementation, it can really turn let's say, the working routines of employees upside down, because processes are changing, technology is changing, there might be new gadgets which they use in a warehouse. So there are many components which really change in their daily work. This is why they need to adapt their behavior and need to understand why, of course, they need to adapt their behavior. And to summarize, these are the three main, let's say, challenges we see, and I would like to point out among many others, but these are the main ones. And when we look at now, okay, how can we help the employees overcoming these hurdles? We see from a change management perspective, and here working with scientific studies and out of our experience, 5 main sentiments, so feelings and states of employees relevant to take into account and target with specific change measures to reach user adoption and to reach their buy-in. The first one is to raise awareness, so that people are aware of the transformation project and its objectives. The second one is that people understand and accept the transformation and the expected changes, that they are able to perform their tasks and apply new tools in their working routines, that they feel empowered and responsible to successfully contribute to the transformation. And the last stage is that people are really passionately committed and execute the transformation. And this is, let's say, these 5 sentiments are our main, let's say, always objectives and targets to reach with change management. So we think about how can we, through communication, raise the awareness? How can we, through meetings and stakeholder engagement, raise the acceptance? And how training can help the employees to feel enabled, just as examples. And change management is about introducing business users to processes and solutions, to give another examples, or to spread the word across the organization so that solutions get widely used by a large amount of users. So we have different tools, let's say, to help the employees, let's say, evolving through this journey, right? And then at the end of the day, help our customers and also then the organizations to really adopt the solution. But because at the end of the day, it's all about the user adoption, so that the people work correctly with the system, that they accept it as it is defined, because then you're only able to realize the value out of it. If people are not accepting it and adopting it, it will be difficult to realize the value which is, let's say, expected at the beginning of such programs. And before we move on the how now, let's say, to reach these states and the sentiments, I would be very interested again with 2 questions, which Larissa will pull up now, which is, the first one is, how high do you estimate the impact of moving to cloud ERP in your organization, if you're already doing or are within an implementation? And the second one is, how do you currently approach change management in your SAP projects? so that we see a little bit what I shared with the change assessment throughout the first minutes to see how this looks like in your situation. And again, the first answers are coming in. Thank you so much for participating. So when I'm looking here on my right side on the results, I see the impact rating is also quite high. Most of you rate a 4, so high, but not very high. And when it comes to the setup of change management, I see a fairly distribution until now, but respondents are still coming in. So we wait a few more seconds, I would say. So I think we give 10 more seconds for everyone to answer in this round. Okay, so all right, I think we can close the first question, Larissa. So when it comes to the estimation of the impact, we see the results that 20% voted for a 5, so very high, 55% voted for a high, and 23% voted for a 3, so medium. And when it comes to the approach, how change management is set up currently, I see very good results. To be honest, that 50%, so every second of you says that there's a structured change management process in place, which is great. And 28% say that you address change management as it comes up. And we have 22% that we do not have a formal approach to change management. So very somehow they're going in the same line as the quick assessment we did, that around every second has no formal approach or non-approach at all. Thanks for sharing your insights here about your organization. Then let's also start with what needs to be done and how is change management then integrated into SAP projects. For that, I have brought with me the Digital Change and Adoption Framework, so our change management approach as we from SAP deliver it at our customers and support them with them in their transition. You see here in the middle of this framework, the component deep transformation insights, where I would like to start with, because this component is our data house within change management, because we measure throughout the whole program and afterwards the 5 sentiments you've just seen from awareness, acceptance, enablement, empowerment, and commitment from program members, but also business users throughout the whole transformation with surveys which give us then experience data. But in addition to that, we combine the experience data, which we call it for survey data from all the respondents. We combine it with operational data from SAP Calm, for example. So we look when we're currently in the realize phase, for example, okay, how where are the test cases going? Are there in one stream a high amount of defects? Or when we are in the explore phase, is there a stream standing out which has a lot of gaps? And we're setting this operational data, how we call it, into context of the experience data to get full insights. And with that, we want to achieve that we have at specific points in the program, although always these measurements to get a broad overview of the program status, and which then serves as a basis for the change activities we do, and gives us also feedback how effective they've been actually. Because we can see then, for example, when we do it at the beginning of the project, we see that maybe the awareness is not high enough in some areas. So we can look here very into detail also to be targeted on a domain level. And then we can think about, and together with the O data and the analysis, we see, okay, where do we need to take action? And in the next survey, we see an increase in best case, of course, so that the actions have been effective, among other things, of course, which happen around. This is normal, but we can get tendencies how the program team develops and also how the business users develop. So this is why we say this is our database, which we continually run to provide us insights, data-driven and tangible. Outside of deep transformation insights, you see our change management framework, which consists of change strategy, change leadership, where it's all about stakeholder management, change communication, change realization, change enablement, and change effectiveness. On these components, I would in the next minutes dive deeper into to provide you here some further explanations. But outside of it, so this is, you can say, our toolbox somehow, right? Change communication, I think it's very self-explaining, but it's our toolbox we use to implement then the change measures. But you also see the digital mindset outside of this whole framework and out of deep transformation insights. And digital mindset is about that we recognized during the last years that due to the ever-evolving environment in context of cloud implementation, so that there is the go live, then there will be release updates, there will innovations coming. So there is a constant change for employees in what they do actually. Some are minor, some are bigger for sure, but there are changes. And we said to lay the ground and develop the employees at that point to be open to change, to evolve in resilience, to work cross-collaboratively, we need to help the employees work on their mindset. That sounds maybe a little bit strange, but really develop on some traits which are very important to the respective organization to thrive in a digital world and in a digital culture. So moving from a fixed mindset, we like to call it, to a digital mindset, which is of course very dependent where the organization sets priorities. But we see as a groundwork to do to develop the employees sustainable into the future. This is why we, in the recent years, we, in addition to this digital mindset change, let's say, to our old change management framework. This in total then can be delivered agile. It's data-driven, as said already, and is integrated into SAP Activate. This is very important to underline because we're not working here very silent, let's say, and alone with our change management approach. We're very integrated into the overall SAP project plan with all other streams to make, of course, change management visible, but also see the dependencies on what is happening in the project, and that we can keep up and take, of course, things up too. And when we dive now deeper, I would like to start with the change strategy, because this is something for sure you do at the beginning of SAP Cloud projects. Before we define here a change strategy, we start first with a change assessment. That is relevant because it is necessary to understand the organization from a historical perspective. So where do you come from? What do you bring to the table today, right? Here we conduct interviews with different stakeholders to understand the culture, communication styles, leadership styles, but also what really happened in the past. Have there been failures? Have there been successes? To build up on that, to understand that, and then integrate it also in our change plan and change concept, because this is very important that it's tailored, right, to what the organization needs and not a one-size-fits-all approach at this point. And we integrate this change plan, as previously said already, also in the project plan. This is not only important from a, let's say, planning perspective, but also that change management is visible in the project plan. Because as some of you may know, you have experience with change management already, is that it can't be delivered by the change management team alone. Many people, stakeholders are involved in this. They're providing their input for communication, for example, or need to conduct meetings with you on specific topics. So change management is actually a task of every program member then at the end, of business users, of the IT, of program managers. That's why we always recommend to really make it visible, all the activities of change management in the project plan, to also make it the effort visible for everyone who needs to contribute to that. And when I move on to the change leadership component, here it is all about managing all individuals and groups who are affected by the project and the implementation, or can influence the project. Here we start usually with a stakeholder analysis, which we recommend. And I sometimes heard when we suggested that at projects that we got the answer, okay, we know our stakeholders, right? But I always recommend to do this again, right? Because out of experience, there come new insights into those discussions. So even though you might know all your stakeholders, always good to recap, okay, do I know everyone, right? And also, do I know how the stakeholders are standing towards my program? How is their attitude towards my program? Are they more on the positive or negative side? And what is their influence on the program? And with all this information together, we gather with the customer. From our perspective, we then get let's say, an overview of all the relevant ones, the influence, the impact as said, and can then up from there also think about, okay, what actions need to be taken? Are they all covered, or do we need to set up a specific things for different stakeholder groups to involve them better and to keep them up to date and involved in the project? So this is our basis then to define the stakeholder engagement plan, to promote a shared positive attitude towards the project and to keep everyone involved. In addition to that, we recommend to set up a change agent network. And for that, to illustrate a little bit the importance of a change network, I brought this little visual with me, where you see the OCM team, standing for Organizational Change Management. You may see this abbreviation throughout the whole presentation. And the organization. And you see here some main activities, right? Communication, stakeholder engagement. And from a size perspective, you see that the OCM team is like maybe 5 to 6 people, very depending on the customer situation and the organization, how it is set up with change management. And you see the organization from a size. And already from a size perspective, you see that it's getting difficult to reach the whole organization with a team which is quite smaller. Of course, the program team supports also and is a representative of the program and the S/4HANA implementation, but it is helpful to have change agents in the organization which can distribute messages to their colleagues, which can answer questions at the coffee machine, and be like a multiplier and the bridge into the organization itself. They are not only a multiplier to distribute messages, but we also see them as eyes and ears in the organization. So for us, it's always important, what I recommend, to also get regular feedback from those change agents in the organization, because they can get here maybe on the, let's say in the office or somewhere, rumors where they then say, hey, we need to do here something, or they get feedback from their colleagues through a specific communication where they say that was not understandable for us. We can take as feedback and get better on that. So it's really a bilateral conversation with those change agents. And we also say that the change agents can be actually everyone. So it mustn't be someone who is very familiar with SAP or who got process knowledge. It can be everyone in the organization who is interested, who want to be a multiplier, who want to engage. And at the end of the day, in the best case, the change agents and the network are becoming like a movement, right? They spread the word, they are enthusiastic about the program, and let's say distribute these vibes into the organization. That's why we also, in addition to stakeholder engagement activities, we really recommend to set up a change agent network. And when we come now to the part of change communication, the main objective of this is, as some of you may know, is to provide the right message to the right people at the right time. Here, the stakeholder analysis for sure also provides valuable input to achieve this objective. We really recommend here to ensure a systematic planning, implementation, and monitoring of all communication activities. We plan this usually very upfront, set milestones where specific, let's say, deliverables are achieved in the program, for example, when it comes to the testing start or the training start, so that these anchor points are for us, of course, very relevant for communication activities. And we separate here within the communication between the stakeholder groups for sure, but the highest level of separation is to say, okay, which communication needs the program team and which communication needs the business users who are not involved in the program yet. And then below these two major groups, we then differentiate between more detailed attributes. But this allows then to really get targeted information, because as you know, if you're reaching too general information, you may not read it, you may not be interested in it. That's what we like to avoid, because at the end, we would like to create awareness and commitment to the project to reduce then the resistance and enhance the user motivation. And what we start with, you also see on the slide, is that we draft very early a change story, which we then pick up throughout the whole program always again. The change story is about making really concrete with the organization leaders, but also employees from different levels. Why are you doing this program? Why are you doing an SAP Cloud project? Because this is at the end the purpose of everything, and why people feel motivated to contribute to that, to see the North Star at the end, right? So this is something we very early start in the project as soon as possible to draft it, to make it clear, understandable, very easy, and to bring that up every time again to raise, okay, we're doing this for a reason, we're doing this for a purpose, and please see the North Star at the end. And when we come now to the component of change realization, it's all about getting detailed understanding of the changes per role in the organization. So it's all about making it very concrete what will change with the go live at XYZ for which role, because you also may know that when something changes, we always think about, okay, what's in it for me? What will change for me in my role? And this is what we want to answer with the change realization. And the tool for that is the change impact analysis, where we do a rating of the changes per role. How high is the impact? What are maybe concerns? What are risks associated with that? And what are benefits also for that? So we have then at the end a change impact analysis reporting, where we see per area and per role how big are they impacted and what is the impact. And then we use that again for the change communication for sure to distribute that and to really early on share in the organization what will change for them, to prepare them and not overall them at the end, okay, this is what will change, and then they have only 2 weeks to prepare for that. And of course, very important at this point is too, that when the changes are concrete for each roles, to also put measures next to it. So some need to be managed somehow. For example, when oftentimes in context of such cloud projects, tasks are shifting between departments. For example, finance will, some finance tasks will move to sales, some sales tasks will move to controlling or whatsoever. And then, of course, there is a job enrichment at some side, and maybe some are, let's say, giving up tasks to different departments. And that's when this is the case, for example, we need to provide the information to HR to then handle these changes and evaluate if a job description needs to be adapted. But it could be also, for example, that a communication measure is necessary or a training for a specific group. So this is then all derived from the change impact analysis reporting to then at the end with the ultimate goal, ensure a smooth transition from the state where you are when you start such a program to the to-be state which you wish to be. So this is then somehow a transition plan. And when we move on now, I already said the term enablement. There will be an extra session on the topic of learning, as said in the beginning. That's why I don't want to dive into detail here at this point. But what I would like to highlight is that, of course, these change enablement and change management itself is highly integrated. So also we recommend in programs that we are very good synced, right? What is happening on the enablement side, what is happening on the organization side, and be a provider of information, but also sharing of information, because it's so highly linked and covering really as a people aspect, and it should be one voice and one plan, let's say one concept to approach the employees in the organization. Our colleagues here from enablement and training, they are usually dividing, let's say, the activities between the program teams. So what does the program team needs to know to follow the program methodology, for example, SAP Activate, or use Calm, our cloud application management, or SAP Enable Now, and then have the other group of business users. What does the users need to do in the system? What do they need to be trained to fulfill their role with the go live and know everything to still continue their job? So these are the main differentiation I would like to share at this point, but as said, there will be a deep dive end of June. I highly recommend. And last but not least, change effectiveness. Here, it's all about, in addition to the deep transformation insights, what you saw at the beginning, our data house, we also have other measurement tools, let's say, recommend to do in context of change management. For example, to evaluate the user adoption after go live, to see how are the people dealing with the system. Are there specific hiccups? Is there something going very well? Is there then, of course, enablement again necessary to help the users adopt better the solution, or is there something for the IT which needs to be enhanced? So this is what we also, in addition to, just to point one out, and or the organizational readiness, what we also do is that we recommend to do like 4 to 8 weeks prior to go live, a measurement where we check, okay, how ready is the organization today to be live in 2 months, right? And then we see out of that measurement, are there things needs to be adjusted in the 2 weeks to be still able to react on the results. And at the end, it's all about tracking and measuring the effectiveness of what we do together with deep transformation insights to make it as concrete as possible, and from that act again and improve and see what is happening in people's minds and behavior, to say. And with that being said, I would like to use the next 5 minutes. I'm looking at the time that we have still enough time for question and answers to share with you how SAP can support you with change management in your project. And here I just want to share this slide, which makes it very nice to illustrate that we from Change and Learning, from SAP side, help you to write the change in best case, so that you don't drop out of when writing the change and have here less performance for your employees, but really help through targeted involvement with each individual employee, staying on board, staying on writing the change, and getting into the objective. And we, from a delivery perspective, I summarized on these slides actually everything I said when we have been on the framework slide. I explained there already everything actually towards that. That's why I put some summaries in the slide deck that you have also the talking track, let's say, in written format, that you can have a check afterwards again on that. But what I would like to add is just simply that we differentiate between the OCM toolbox, I said, strategy, enablement, empowerment, etc. DTI, we just said that the powerhouse, of course, it is integrated, but it can also be a standalone service. And digital mindset can also be a standalone, but always integrated if wished with our OCM advisory and delivery. And when it comes to the OCM toolbox, here I would like to add that we bring into when we're helping our customers, we bring templates, experiences, standards, lessons learned from familiar projects into the engagement. We put a high focus on our customer relationship, which means that we really have the objective to enable also the customer counterpart in change management if the knowledge is not there yet. So we really would like to support, coach, and do a knowledge transfer on organizational change management with our customers together, so that they are enabled to do themselves organizational change management with our help. Because it's, let's say, it's a long run and long-term topic, which doesn't end with a go live, but will continue. So that's why we really would like would also focus on our engagement in building up the knowledge customer internally. And on the right-hand side, you see, again, also how this what I haven't showed because it's very overwhelming sometimes, how our framework then is aligned with SAP Activate in detail with all our deliverables. But this is also linked in the additional information section I put also into the slide deck. And here you see, again, deep transformation insights. What I only would like to point out here is that together with the analysis I said we do from experience data and operational data, we also provide that in a dashboard. And so we have here the possibility with the help of Qualtrics to provide dashboards to our customers that they access it themselves to slice and dice the data which we gathered, to have really the own chance also to do the analysis, which is really important to us. So there's the possibility to filter specific sections and to get really targeted insights there. We provide a final report which summarizes everything along with recommendations, and we also have, of course, here various survey templates in place to measure our sentiments. And digital mindset insights, you remember the outline, the crown, let's say, which we say is also set up a little bit, similar to deep transformation insights, but going more than also in the action workshop. So here also a kickoff workshop is conducted. There will be a pulse checks where a measurement is done where you currently stand from a digital mindset perspective. A dashboard will be also provided. Then a strategic workshop is done where you say, okay, for me, it's very important to have a focus on digital affinity of my employees. Then these traits are stressed, and in an action workshop defined what could be done to support employees in developing this. And a retrospective is also included. And with that being said, to have enough time for questions, I just want to summarize what you hopefully have learned within the session is that great technology is the basis, but employees who are really able and want to use this is the key to success of your transformation. That it's very important to anchor the change activities in the project plan from the beginning and plan the capacities for them, and that feedback and data supported methodology like DTI, like the digital mindset offering, enable a precise approach and be more effective at the end in what we do and want to achieve with change management. And here I just have consolidated some further information if you're interested. Articles, our approach, again, a learning journey also in regards to organizational change management. So there are many more reads if you would like to dig deeper into some topics I just shared. And with that, I think I can take over to you, Larissa, for the question and answers part now.
Right.
30 minutes left.
Right. Thank you, Sarah. And I can see at least one raised hand, and I would like to give a chance to Chuck to talk again. Let's see if it works now. I can see that you're on mute, Chuck, but I don't know how to. There seems to be some technical issue here because let me try one more thing. No, nothing happens. So let's see if it works. Chuck, we are ready to hear you with your raised hand. If you manage to unmute yourself, we will be happy to hear your question. Let me see what we have in the Q&A section. 1 second. So we have the following question. Can you share with us the links to the final page of the presentation? The PDF of this session will be included or will be combined with the recording and shared to you in a follow-up email. I will work on this. So I don't think there are several links on this last page, right? So it won't be possible. It's not just one link that we can probably post in the chat. I think there are several, right?
Yeah, there are several, so quite a number of links actually.
Okay, then let us, yeah, I will prepare the follow-up email and share it with you. If you don't hear from me by the end of next week, please let me know. Maybe this is, I think we can handle it like this. So again, we still can't hear Chuck.
Also happy to share some experience where you say, or you would like to have a deep dive on. We moved quite quickly through all the components of our framework. So if you say something would be interesting for you again to know more, I can also offer that if you like.
Right. So this is actually a great suggestion from Sarah. If you have your own specific situation that you would like to discuss or you would like to address, especially concerning the aspects of people as part of the transformation, please feel free to reach out directly to Sarah. She also has her contact data included in this PDF document. So yeah, and you can also see her contact data on your screen right now. So for those who has immediate request can definitely follow up this suggestion.
Sure. Happy to hear from you, definitely.
Right. I can only encourage our audience to bring up the question as long as we have Sarah with us live. And if not, then as I've already indicated, first of all, thank you, Sarah, for sharing this insight on empowering people during the transformation, and of course all these aspects how to approach change management. I know this is not a very easy topic because we have a lot of people, employees, they have their sentiments. We are trying to manage them. And of course, there never one picture that fits to all. So there's a lot of work connected with this. All
Yeah, it's
right.
actually more difficult because it's not that tangible as a technical aspect, right? It's people
Exactly.
we're dealing here with. So
Right.
this is actually the tough part.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so I can't see questions in Q&A tool, also not in the chat. With this, I hope we could at least give you a good overview of the aspects that you need to consider or the starting points. For deeper discussions, please feel free to reach out to Sarah. The materials of this session will be shared in a follow-up email. And we continue with our series, and the next session will take place next week on Tuesday, on June 18. And we will talk about how SAP Cloud ALM support you in your digital transformation. So stay tuned with us, and we will be very happy to welcome you next week. Thank you and bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Thanks for joining. Bye.